My name is Carina Gardner, and I'm what you would call a practical designer. If you're ready to create a life that you love, become an incredible force for good, and generate income while pursuing your dreams, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to Make and Design. Hi, designers. Today I'm here with Katherine I'm going to say the last name wrong, Klimitas. And she has such a fascinating story. If you have ever felt like you have struggled in your art, struggled in your design work, I think one of the most beautiful things about the interview I'm doing today, I'm just going to turn this on. The interview I'm doing today is that you are going to get so much out of what Katherine has to talk to us about. So Katherine is very, very cool and very special. So Katherine, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. My name is Katherine Klimitas. I live right outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. I've lived here pretty much my entire life. I am an artist and a graphic designer. I got into art at a really early age because I have a genetic bone disease called Osteogenesis Imperfecta, which is also known as Brittle Bone Disease. And it basically means that my bones grow abnormally and they break really easily. So by the time I was 10, just to give you an idea, by the time I was 10, I had actually broken over 500 bones. So just to give you an idea. Now, of course, that did slow down after puberty and everything, but it was a lot. It's still a lot. And so I went to mainstream schools. I grew up with two wonderful parents who were veterinarians. And so obviously I was very much surrounded by animals my entire life. And they realized that, at least here in this area, special ed schools generally mean that you have a mental disability here. I'm not sure if that's the truth for all over the country, but here that's the case. And so putting me in one of those schools was not really a great option because I was really smart as a kid and I was always a really good student and I would be really bored in a school like that. And so they fought to put me in mainstream schools my entire life. And obviously there were times when I couldn't do the things that my friends were doing because I was the only kid in a wheelchair up until I was a senior in high school. So, I couldn't go play soccer or football or basketball. And, I could cheer them on the sidelines. But, I'm not going to lie, there were times where I got hit with a ball and it was bad. I wasn't playing, but I was still there and accidents happen, So when I needed something to do, because I was really smart and I was really bored and I would drive my parents completely insane. And so when I was about 5, my mom gave me my first watercolor set and I loved it. And it was cheap, it was one of those kid watercolor sets, right? That are just the cakes and the plastic brush and it, really doesn't work. And anyway, I loved it. And I was actually pretty good at it, even though I was only 5. And so my mom saw that and got me more and more into art as I got older. So I learned all kinds of things. I learned acrylic and oil and sculpture and even did some glass blowing and all kinds of things between school, like art in school, and then summer camps. I did every summer camp in a 30-mile radius that was art involved. And then I had private lessons also. So it was like art all the time when I was a kid, which was great. I loved it for the most part. And then so the way I kind of started working, because people ask me all the time, well, how did you start your business? Well, as I mentioned, my parents are veterinarians and they own their own practices. And so on the weekends, when I didn't have school or an aide, I would have to go to work with them. And I mean, I grew up going to work with them. So I'm a very hard person to gross out, okay? Because let me tell you, a veterinary practice, if you have a weak stomach, it's not the place for you. But um, I grew up watching surgery and all kinds of stuff. And so I would actually sit in the waiting room while people were waiting for my parents to finish and to see them and paint people's dogs and paint people's cats just for fun, just because I was bored. And eventually people were like, well, I can't wait any longer, but if I get you a picture, can I pay you to do this? And I was like, I mean, I was 10 or 11, and I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So I started making money as a preteen, which of course my mother's answer to that was, well, I'm not buying you anything anymore. Um, toys wise and things I wanted, right? Um, but uh, but yeah, I started making money, and it just kind of stuck. I mean, I've been doing pet portraits since I was basically a teenager, and and then of course I branched out, and I thought when I went into college that I was going to be a fine artist major, um, but then I realized how much physical work I'd have to put out to be a fine artist, at least until my work caught, because very few artists' work actually catches to where they can be a fine artist and make a living, right? And so I said, well, I'm going to switch my major to graphic design because at least it's art, sort of, but it's creative, and I can market it different. There's always going to be jobs, right? Between web and social media and branding and all those things. There's always going to be jobs. So that's what I do. And I try to kind of split it down the middle today where I do enough design so that I can paint.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it works today.
So incredible. Seriously, so incredible. Okay. Like, honestly, my mind got a little bit blown when you said glass blowing, though.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah. I mean, it's not something I would ever say, like, I would never do it as like a job,
Mhm.
but it was fun. I liked
Yeah.
it.
So incredible. Okay. So I've been on your website and I've seen your art, and it is phenomenal. What I love is that there's this little entrepreneurial spirit in you as a 10-year-old making art for other people and suddenly being like, wait, I could do portraitures? Like what? So um I mean, your parents are entrepreneurial if they own their own practices. Do you think you got some of that from them, or do you think
Oh,
it was innate?
absolutely. I got it from them. Yeah. Um, I mean, it's a little bit of both. So I say I own my own business by default because I did grow up in it. I mean, by the time I was 3 or 4, I mean, remember this is 30 years ago. Okay, my dad would have me come in at the end of the day on Saturday and help him count the cash. And because 30 years ago, that's what everybody dealt in was cash. There were no credit cards. And so, I would sit there and count a pile of 20s, that are this high. And I had to learn math and all kinds, as a 3 and 4 year old, things you don't normally learn as a 3 and 4 year old. Um, and I would help with other bookkeeping stuff. And I did a while where mom needed some help answering the phones at her office on the weekends, and I did all of that. So I mean, I literally grew up in it, literally. But also, when I graduated college, there was a part of me that said, because it's hard, it's really hard to own your own business. It's a lot of work. People say, oh, it's so easy because you can make your own schedule. No, your schedule is you work all the time. I mean, that's your schedule. You work all the time. Um, and so, or at least in the first, however many years. But um, it's there was a part of me that said, do you want to go work for a firm instead? Like where it's 9 to 5, like you leave your work at the office, you come home, you get free time, But for me to do that physically would be very difficult. There are some serious advantages I have to being able to work at home, and on the days that I don't feel like getting dressed, I don't have to. you know, or on the days that I hurt too much to move in one position or another, or I don't want to get in the car, or, those kinds of things. I don't have to,
Mhm.
and so it just, there are some accommodations we can make at home that I would not expect to be made in a work environment.
Yeah. So incredible. I love that so much. Um, my question is, do you feel like the art was fueled by what you were dealing with your physical state, or do you feel like it wouldn't have mattered? You would have been an artist anyway.
I don't know. I've been asked that before, and um, I love art. I mean, I love to paint and I love animals. And if you've looked at my work, you know that that's basically all I paint is animals. Um, and I don't know. My mom is not an artist, but she's very creative. Um, and so I think maybe had she had something like me where, she was a little more contained as a child, um, maybe she would have gone that direction too. My dad was a surgeon, and honestly, like that's an art in itself. So obviously, genetically, I have some of it, right? I mean, so in some way, I don't. I mean, I would have never been something like a banker
Yeah.
or an accountant, like never a lawyer. None of those. Um, I would have for sure done something creative one way or the other. Now, one thing may have happened is after college, I maybe would have left New Orleans and gone to, art school or been hired in a bigger firm in New York or Chicago or LA, those big hubs. But it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
good with where I am.
I would like you to talk a little bit more about your art. First of all, I would love to know, what medium do you like to work in the most? Okay.
Watercolor.
Watercolor. Okay. So like
Yeah.
it's like a definite like watercolor is your thing.
Yep. It
Okay.
is. I. It's funny because it's where I started, which it's not like I stayed there for long when I started with it. I mean, I liked it. It's like there's a convenience in watercolor because it's not super messy. It's very easy to travel with. So at the when I started, remember I was doing this at my parents' office, right? So it's easy to contain. Um, it's not like, with oil you're using chemicals, and that's not great, right? I mean, I it's an easy medium in that regard. It's hard. Well, I don't find this, but most people say it's the hardest one to control.
Mm,
I don't agree with that most of the time. I say we just get along. Like I understand it, I get it, and I guess that I've just had so much practice with it at this point, um, that I'm good with
yeah.
it. Now, I mean, had I practiced that much with acrylic or oil, maybe I would be, but I will say I did not enjoy either one of those mediums nearly as much
Interesting.
as I did watercolor. Yeah.
I'm not an oil painter. I do watercolor and acrylic, but my daughter oil paints because of college, because she was taking a class. And I was thinking how difficult in your situation it would be to oil paint because she's
Yeah.
constantly having to do like mineral oils to clean off the brushes and move around a
Yeah.
lot, which would be difficult.
Well, and that's one of the other things. So I have an aide with me almost 24/7.
Okay.
Somebody, whether it's my mom or somebody we've hired or a friend, whoever, somebody's with me or at least around in case I need something. But with watercolor, I don't need somebody to help me do that. I
Mhm.
need somebody to hand me my stuff. And that's about it. I mean, the only day that I really need some help is if I'm putting, because I have this process where if I have a bunch of paintings to do at one time, I do them like an assembly line to begin. Like I'll draw them out first and I'll draw them all out. And then I'll put backgrounds on them and I'll put all the backgrounds on. And then I take them one by one. Um, but when it's like background day and everything is wet and I need space, you know, that's sometimes I need some help moving things around. so I don't mess it up. But other than that, I mean, I don't need somebody to help me do it, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Have you been dreaming of earning a master's degree or a design certificate that could lead you to launch your very own business? The University of Arts and Design has unique programs where you not only learn how to design, but how not to be a starving artist, which is why I created it. Join us in our upcoming Design Your Future event. Visit uad.education/design your future to learn more about our students, discover the courses that we offer, and find out more about how you can become part of something truly unique in the university experience. Yeah, that is the most beautiful thing about watercolor. I know very little about brittle bone disease. I actually think most people don't know a lot about it. And so if you're on the podcast and you're not watching this on YouTube, then I'm not sure if you are getting the full scope of like how cool it is that Katherine does what she does. It's pretty impressive. I would love to know, especially because like physically you're at such a disadvantage. Like, are there ever times you get down or it feels very hard?
Oh yeah. I mean, that totally. I mean, that just happened recently. I mean, I had a really bad accident in September where I broke a lot of bones at one time, and it was big bones, so it was bad. Um, and then I got a cold twice. I mean, it just like it was almost like one thing after another. You know, like I finally got mostly better from the accident, although I still have a few problems from it. But it's better to the point of like I'm functional again, right? I mean, mostly better from that, and then I get sick, you know, and then like I get mostly better from that, and then I break a rib, and then I get sick again, you know, and it's like, and everybody knows this feeling, like you feel like you're coming out of something, whether it's health wise or financially or emotionally or whatever it is, and then something else happens. And it's just like, really? You know, at a certain point, it gets very frustrating. And like I said, I think, I mean, you know, I had this physical thing, right? But everybody has that, just in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, everything is relative.
Yeah. I mean, you say that, but what you have is it's a lot. It's a lot. And here's the other thing I'm super curious about. And you, for the most part, as we've discussed, I mean, we've just barely met here, but you're really positive. Like you're very like doing your work. You like seems like you're like, I'm just doing my work. I'm an artist. I've learned so much from my parents. And I would say, relatively speaking, like an overly positive person. Do you think that's your personality, or do you think you've just done hard things and so you're grateful for the things you have?
Both. It's a little bit of both. So my I really think that a lot of that comes from how I grew up, because my mom especially, my dad wasn't home a whole lot when I was like 13 and younger, so I didn't. I feel like I grew up more with mom. I mean, of course he was around, but like not, you know, get up in the morning, see that, like he just wasn't there all the time, right? And so mom especially was like, you're not going to feel sorry for yourself. Like you're still going to do the things you need to do. You might have to do them differently, but it's still going to happen, you know, no matter what. And I mean, I went to school with broken bones all the time. And then I got really mad when she wouldn't let me go to school, you know, because there were days where I was like, no, I can make it. And she's like, no, this is too many. You got to wait a couple days, you know, and it would, I hated that, you know, I hated that. I'm not going to lie. There was one time, I'm sure it was more than once, but one time specifically, I didn't want to take a math test and I faked a broken rib. It was one time. And I mean, how are you going to argue with me, right? You can't. So, yeah.
I
Anyway,
just like all kids are the same, right? Like at the
right.
end of the day, all kids are trying to get out of the math test
Oh,
some
yeah.
way. And you
Oh,
just
yeah.
had a really good excuse to get out of it.
I did. I did. And I did it. I think I only really did it one time. And I didn't tell mom till years later. Like she never found out. until years later. And yeah, that was kind of funny, but
That
it
is
worked. I had an extra day to study. but but yeah, I mean, it's also kind of like specifically with this last accident, and I had one 3 years ago. Like it was bad. I mean, it was probably the worst ever. And it's one of those things like, okay, you got through that. You can probably get through pretty much anything at
yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, and then it's not just that. Like, I lived here for Hurricane Katrina. We lost our house and everything we owned. My dad passed away 12 years ago. I mean, like, it's not just, I still have normal problems too,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, it's you see those bad things in your life, and it's like, okay, I got through that, and it was hard, but I mean, what's next? Like, it can't be worse than that,
Yeah.
you know?
I I mean, first of all, I love your attitude, but what I really love about you is that you have this amazing creative soul. And I just love that. I mean, I'm on your website right now. We're going to show it in the guest expert series. Like, seriously, you guys, stunning work, like stunning, beautiful work. So, I think we're going to, I want to, oh man, we could talk forever, but we're going to probably talk to just the designers on the guest expert series. Instead, we're going to close out this podcast. But first, those of you listening, if you want to learn more about Katherine, where can they find you?
I am on Facebook and Instagram. I am newly on TikTok, so be kind. Okay. And it's KAK Art Nola on both Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, my website is kakartnola.com. And of course, you can get to all that through my website. I have an Etsy store. And also, if you sign up for my newsletter, I have some very exciting things coming up. So sign up for my newsletter on my website.
Awesome. We're going to give you guys the links on the YouTube channel and on the podcast so that you can join. I love that you said be kind on TikTok, because I feel like TikTok's the one place that no one is kind. Why
I
is
know.
no
I
anyone
know.
nice on TikTok?
I know. And I kind of got pressured into getting on TikTok. And I'm like, it's just one more thing, you know? And I'm like, and I have somebody helping me do it, but it's just like, okay, we'll see how this goes.
You got to
I
try
don't
it. Yeah, I
anyway.
mean, you got to try all of it, right? To see
Yeah,
if
exactly.
it's going to hit. So,
Exactly.
you guys, thank you so much, Katherine, for being on. Go check out the links that we're going to give you so you can go see her artwork, see what she's doing. It's a really inspiring story. I hope you've been inspired today. All of us have hard things in our lives. But I think when we do hard things, it is actually good for us. It makes us better. And Katherine, do you want to end with any words of advice about anything along that line or experiences that you've had?
No, I mean, just try to focus on the positives. And one of the things, I have a friend who just injured her ribs, and one of the things I said to her last night is like, it just, if you are in physical pain, like, it's better to just accept it than to fight it. That's usually what I tell people, because it's going to be there. So you might as well just find a way to live with it, you know.
It's inspiring. Thank you so much, Katherine, for being on.
Yeah.
Guys, keep up the amazing work. Keep being creative. Keep designing. Keep making your art. We're really excited for you to just keep moving forward with your creativity, and we will see you soon. Did you know you have access to more free design content, die cut files, and sewing patterns? Join our exclusive VIP group for free by going to designsweetcourses.com/free.